Yeah, hi. Good morning to everyone. So just give me a moment. I'll start session. Just a moment. Yeah. Okay. So see now. Okay. So in our yesterday session, we started understanding the importance of static and default methods as part of interfaces. So until Java 7, we don't have a concept of writing any implemented method or concrete methods. Generally we can call it as that means with method with logic in a simple terminology. So we don't have by any chance, by any other way, we cannot write any methods with logic until Java 7. Only abstract methods, purely 100% abstract methods. There is no concept of writing in any point of view. We cannot write any methods until Java 7. But Java 8 onwards, they started, Java supporting writing methods with logic. That means with body implementation of methods along with abstract methods. So the purpose of why they are allowing methods with body in an interface is all about, one of the reason is sharing the common logic across all implemented classes. So the point first point, one of the point is it's all about sharing a common logic across all the implemented classes. So from that, so if you observe here, what is the advantage of sharing? If you are having a method and with some body, and that method can be used by, that method can be accessible by every implemented class. That is the one of the biggest advantage. So the overall summary point of view, what we can understand here it is, so common shared logic, common or shared logic in between implemented classes, in between implemented classes. So if an interface is going to be implemented by multiple classes, then all those classes automatically can get the logic, automatically can get the logic. And then that is one reason. Second reason is achieving the backward compatibility. So what is the point of backward compatibility is, I said yesterday with an example. What is that is, so whenever we implemented any real-time applications, it's not about what is happening currently or what we are implementing right now is not the matter. It's all about, we have to consider future enhancements in future, what is going to happen, because requirements will change every time. New things will coming into the picture, and based on that we have to modify our software applications. So in such a way, so I've taken an example. For example, assume you created this project 2020 and everything is going fine. But in 2025, some point of view you have to add some logic, and that should be available by each and every class of this interface. That should be accessible by each and every class of this interface, implemented class. So that means what you can do, maybe if it is a Java 7 point of view, so same example, if you take in Java 7, so at that time you don't have a concept of adding a method with logic. You have only abstract method concept. So if you are added this as part of this interface, automatically all the 5 or 10 100 implemented classes should implement that method, whether it is really required by every class or it is a common logic, it doesn't matter. Simply you have to implement logic at every class level. So so that means development efforts are increasing. Development efforts are increasing. Point number one. Second point is whatever the logic, maybe assume the logic of that method is common across all the classes. Even though you need to implement it, you don't have choice. For every class has to implement. But when it comes to Java 8 point of view, because of this static or default methods point of view, what? So in a different scenarios again static and default, we will see that, and I already explained yesterday also. So if because of static and default methods point of view, if you are if you are added that method with logic in the interface level, you no need to add into any class. So that means every class can access that method automatically. Every class is able to access as a parent interface point of view, parent method point of view, with respect to child and parent relationship in between interface and implemented class point of view. Every class is able to access that method logic. So that means in one place you are adding the logic, automatically all the classes are got useful, all the classes are affected with that logic. So that means all the classes, whenever you want to access that logic by any class, you can access directly. You don't need to provide implementation in all the implemented classes. Maybe sometimes one class or two classes want their own implementation logic, then it's up to your choice. First of all, optional. In case if you want, you can implement your own logic. That means overriding. You can do the overriding. But by default, if it is before until Java 7, 100% is whether, even though there is no requirement of changing that logic in every class, different logic, same logic, still you are implementing it every class. Here you have an optional case. So in case if you want to override, you can override with your own logic. So that is the main advantage of static and default methods inside the interfaces. So this is called as backward compatibility. So backward compatibility means that's what. The moment you got something and if you want to share across all the implemented classes, so you are going back to the interface and you are adding logic here, so that is what again available to all the classes. So that is how we are achieving the backward compatibility as part of these cases. And not only that, tomorrow when you are modifying, for example, again in 2026 or 2027, you modified some of the logic. So maybe you updated logic of this method, or you added couple of lines, or you added couple of other things in the same method. Then again, what will happen? You are doing updates at one place, but all are automatically all the classes can get the latest logic of that method because of that parent child relationship. But here what will happen, in case if you want to modify same thing, again you have to do each and every class level, you have to modify the logic. So the efforts are increasing with respect to Java 7 and Java 8 point of view, things are became very easy with respect to static and default methods. Okay, so now this is all achieving we are because of static and default methods. But what is again the difference between static and default inside an interface? That is what we discussed again. One more point yesterday. Okay, this is all we are achieving via static and default methods inside the interfaces. That's okay. But again, with respect to interface, what is the difference between static and default? As a developer, at what time we have to choose which one? Okay, so here I said yesterday one point. When it comes to the static methods, exactly same to classes concept. So that means what is the point of exactly same to the classes? In generally, why when you will create static methods inside your classes, I say we know that the methods which are going to be executed without help of object or which are not involving instance content, instance variables, the methods which are involving static variables, the methods which are going to have a common logic, I mean a static logic, permanent logic, even there is no calculations kind of thing. Generally those kind of logic we will write as part of the static methods. That's what we discussed in the classes level. And when it comes to non-static methods inside the classes, I said like it's always involved with the help of object. So from any other class, if you want to call, so if you from any other class, so we know that from the A class, B class. So the moment you're calling any methods of A, so if you have one, if it is static method, you will call via class name. If it is non-static, we will access those methods via reference object of A, non-static methods. These are all details we discussed in the classes level. And static methods generally we will define very less in our real time applications, because static means the content is always static, which is not going to change any calculations. You don't have any calculations, and it is not involving any objects. Some kind of that kind of things generally will define as part of the static methods. Where you are involving objects, real time data, runtime data, different times, different data with respect to different objects. So that kind of logic you will define always as part of the what? Uh, so instance methods and all. Generally people will, the method logic is depends on the object data. You will go with the non-static methods like that. So we discussed all these points. Same point of view here also they provided. Anywhere you are adding a method to the interface and assume that method is going to be useful, that logic is going to be useful along with implemented classes. See here, I'll give you one thing. So if it is a static method inside the interfaces, you can use inside the implemented classes plus other classes also. Other classes means non-implemented classes. So that is what the advantage of static methods. For example, if you take in our yesterday's example, so in this case, what happened? Interface A. So I'm taking this again one more time. Yeah. So if I taken this is an interface, and assume here you have a method called as default methods also. Some of the default methods. I said you can write any number of default methods and static methods inside a interface. So the moment you return static and default methods, what will happen here it is, if it is an implemented class, then you can access static methods as well as default methods. So you can access default methods also. Default methods also. But when it comes to C point of view, you can access A static methods but not default methods of A. So you can access only, so this point we discussed I think yesterday, static methods. So that means I can access static methods of an interface wherever I want, I can access, but default methods I cannot do, because the reason is the default methods is always implemented on the instance object. Via object point of view only you can access the default methods, not via interface name. But if it is a static method, you can access always by the interface name generally. So there is no point of using object. If it is non-static, in case classes point of view, I said object, right? Similar point of view, default methods are similar to non-static methods inside the interfaces. So in such a way, if class C is not at all implementing A interface, so in such case, in case if you want static methods, you can access simply like A dot that static method name, whatever the static method name you are having, like info, whatever it is, something like that, you can access it. You can call that method from the C class. It will work. You don't have any problem. So this is going to work. But the problem is when you are trying to access default methods, you cannot access. Why? C is not implemented A interface. But when you implement it, then you can access default methods also. So that means again, what is the summary you have to understand from this? So what is the summary you have to understand here? It is again, when logic should be available to, okay, all classes, or available to any class irrespective of implemented classes, then the choice is you have to make that method as a static method. So that means as part of that static method, again, what kind of logic you will implement means you cannot involve any objects kind of thing or whatever it is. That is point number one. And again, the summary point here it is, when logic should be available to implemented classes of that respective interface of that respective interface. So the when logic should be available to implemented classes of that respective interface, then you can go for the default methods. And one more advantage with the default methods is here, I said yesterday this point also, every implemented class, implemented class can override default methods of an interface. So that means I said right yesterday, what is the point here it is? Yeah, here. So we added a method called as info method. We added a method called as info at interface. Automatically what will happen? Assume it is a default method. All classes can access. Automatically all classes can access without writing inside the classes. But sometimes one or two classes want their own logic. Maybe when it comes to one or two implemented classes, somewhat logic is different, or they want to provide, those classes would like to provide some different logic. They don't want existing logic. So some changes in the logic, they want their own logic. Yes, then you can override it. So that means tomorrow when you are calling info method with respect to SBI point of view, so what will happen in this case is, if you are calling SBI SC equal to something new SBI, and the moment you are calling s dot info method, what will happen based on the our polymorphism point of view, or our method overriding, we know that first it will verify in the current class s belongs to which object, SBA. So it will verify info method available in the current class or not, current object class or not. Yes, it is available. So that's why what will happen in this case is, this method is going to be executed. In this case, this method will be executed. Now for example, you created object for the city class. So city class. So C equal to new city, like that you created object, and you called again in this case C dot info method. So what will happen? Same formula. What we understood in the method of overriding time. So first it will verify in the city class info method available or not. So it's not available. So it's not available here. It is checking not available. So then what's happening? Immediately it is going to the parent level. Parent level the method is available. So that's why it will start executing from the parent. That means interface. So that is how you can achieve the overriding also with respect to default method. So that's why this statement you have to remember. Here it is. Default methods are similar to non-static methods of the classes. So that is the thing you have. If you remember, then you are very good with interfaces and it's implemented. Sorry, it's static and default methods. Okay, so let's prove all these points together right now with an example. So this is all theory we had yesterday with enough information, with enough examples, and I given you all the useful scenarios with respect to backward compatibility point of view, and whatever the scenarios generally we will encounter in our day-to-day application implementation. I covered all the scenarios as part of static and default methods, and we understood also very clearly how the accessibility of default and static methods by classes also explained. Default methods point of view, you have to make a implementation relationship, and when it comes to static methods, you can access wherever you want, simply use the interface name and you can access that method. Like that you have to take care of the Yeah, you have to, based on the requirement point of view, you have to implement either default or static methods in your interfaces in general. Okay, so let's see how it is happening now. With examples, we'll see. Default. Guys, when you're attending interviews, when you're giving interviews, whatever the points you know very well with respect to this kind of explanation, answer them confidently. Don't be hesitate, or don't be like, no need to afraid whether it is right or wrong. Do be confident. So if you're wrong, nothing will happen. They will say okay, they will move to the next question. They will not scold you, they will not say anything. Okay, so let's take a first interface. It's all about interface right now. So I'm taking an interface and I'll define com dot Dilip IT something, whatever it is, bank or whatever it is. So I'm taking an interface called as bank application. Same example we'll take. It will be relevant for everyone. So this is an interface. Generally, what is the point of interfaces? Defining abstract methods. Defining abstract methods is the point of interface from Java version 1 onwards. So that means let me write one or two abstract methods. Public, I mean void, calculate, EMI value. Or let's do like this. Public void, print, print bank name. Okay. And public void, print, get, loan, interest, percentage. So I written something like this. My point here it is, assume 3 4 banking application classes extended this class. So then I'll print which class it is, what is the bank it is, and all I have to print. And second thing is based on the loan. So I'll give here like string loan type something. So if it is a home loan with respect to that bank, what is the interest rate? Okay. If it is a car loan, what is the interest rate? So I'll pass car loan, then I will get car loan interest rate. Personal loan, then I'll get like that. That is what my idea here it is. Okay, fine. So what I will do here, let's take implemented classes first. I'll take two classes. You can assume that as a 20, 30, 40 also, instead of taking again more than that. So what I will do first, I'll take ICICI bank application. So if you want, you can add interfaces from here itself, guys. Generally, you can type from there or you can search from here also. Our bank application interface we want, right? So you can add from here also, add from here. Even you can add classes also from here. Automatically, Eclipse will make a code like implements interface. That's all. Or else as a developer, we have to do that. And now Eclipse is doing for that. And it is added automatically all overridden methods. Why? You know that the rule. If it is an abstract interface contains abstract methods, you have to provide implementation 100%. Okay, so what is this annotations? You will understand right away after this class, guys. Next time I'm going to start annotations after this topic. Then we will understand what is the point of this annotation. Okay, so see here, what I will do, sys out of, this is ICICI Bank, something like that. Okay, so now here also I'm providing logic. So if loan type equal to assume some codes I have, assume like car loan, PL, CL, house loan, HL, something like that. And based on that, I'll give like, okay, I'll print right directly. Car loan interest is something, some percentages I'll give, something like 8.75, whatever it is. Else, if, okay, if it is car loan, personal loan, interest is 10.75. Else, if it is home loan, yeah, I'll give something like 9.00. Okay, so just some information. Now, similarly, if I take on one more implemented class, this is all stories we know that we already discussed all these things in the implemented classes at interfaces time. So let me define one more class. I'm doing Control C, Control V, and I'm changing as HDFC Bank application. Okay, I created one more class, HDFC Bank application, and I'll change the logic HDFC Bank. And if it is maybe these loans are different from the ICICI, these guys are providing at low cost. Personal loan, these guys are providing at 10.00 percentage. Home loan, they are starting from the 8 percentage itself, something like that. Okay, so now I have my own. So I have one interface, two implemented classes, two implemented classes. So you know the story now, how to access all these methods. So I'm taking a main method. So as part of main method, so I can access automatically. Okay, let's take first ICICI application class equal to new ICICI bank application. Okay, now I can access automatically ICICI bank methods, whatever I have, get loan, interest percentages based on the, I want personal loan. So I want to see what is the percentage of interest rate. ICICI dot get, what is that method we written one more, print bank name or get bank name, whatever the name you can use. Okay, so like that, similarly you can do accessible by HDFC bank application also. So you can do control F, automatically Eclipse will display all these items. HDFC, and then see, you should know very well about copy paste also with confident when you know the things. Okay, so HDFC point of view. So I'll write like this is where I want car loan, and this is where HDFC, something like that. Okay, so I added, this is all story, we know that it's all simply what, an interface and its implemented classes. So I taken only two implemented classes, I said already. You can imagine it as a more than two, three, 10 classes. Think always in a bigger perspective, then you will get the solutions easily. Okay, so it's all about an interface, bank application, and I taken two abstract methods. I'm not writing exactly names and all. So class 1, class 2 I taken, but you can imagine class 3, class 4, class 5, something like that. So here I taken as ICICI and I taken as HDFC Bank again. Okay, so the moment you made it, automatically you provided implementation for two abstract methods. That's mandatory along with your methods point of view. Yeah. Okay, fine. So this is what we did. Fine. And implements. The same diagram only, but only example point of view I'm taking because I know the importance of these things nowadays, how things are happening. That's why. And nobody will give you all these details who is teaching from olden days. And here, class, sorry, implemented classes. This is also a class. All are classes only. Okay, so etc. etc. You can imagine. Now, what is our concept here? It is now the point here. It is okay. The application is happening. It's going very okay, good, and everything is happening. Okay. Now, after some time, okay, your application is fine and everything is fine. Now, after some time, what happened here? It is you came to know that there is a requirement like okay in the same project itself. You have a requirement like you have to provide. So maybe due to some government rules or RBI rules, whatever it is, you have to make sure every bank level, you have to provide some guidelines of a loan. So that means what are those guide and assume these guidelines are common for every bank, common for every bank. And those guide so that means now my point here it is these guidelines are common. These guidelines are common at every place. At every place, these guidelines are common guidelines. There is and fixed content. So that's why these are all common at every place. Then what you can do? So let's see here. Now see here, let's add a static method in this case. So if I made an abstract method, again public void, okay, get guidelines, something like that I return, get guidelines or whatever it is. And then if I made it as abstract, what will happen? Automatically see you are getting error at all implemented classes 1, 2, 3, 4. If you are having 20, 30 implemented classes, every class level you have to provide implementation. That is the fact we understood about the abstract methods. Whatever the version it is, you have to make sure 100% every class is implemented, whether it is a Java 7, Java 21. But in Java 7, you don't have a concept of somehow managing logic at interface itself and but not at classes level. But from Java 8 onwards, you have a concept of managing logic at interface level and accessible by the classes in case if you don't want to disturb the classes. So that's why, and that too based on the requirement what I said, it's a common at every place. Tomorrow not only implemented classes, wherever you want to see the guidelines is, these guidelines are very common, fixed guidelines is. Something like person should belongs to India or something like that, whatever it is, based on the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, whatever point of view it is. Okay, so they should their Aadhaar should be presented. Some kind of rules will be there, right? That is common in every bank. Wherever you go, without Aadhaar card, they will not open your bank account. Without PAN card, they will not open some kind of things like that. So if you added that as a what happened abstract method, you have to provide implementation at two methods level. So then again, what will happen? Duplications. And unnecessarily you are implementing same logic in more than 20 classes, 30 classes in case if you have it. But the moment you made it as a, see here, I'm making it as a static method. So you know how to write a static method. If you are adding a static word at method signature level, it will become static method. See, automatically the compile time errors are gone at every class level. The red marks means, so that means now what happened? You made this as a static method. So that means in such case, there is no need to provide implementation for this method by every implemented class like that. So now see here, I'm writing a logic like rule number one, something like person should be belongs to India, something like that. And some rules, some logic. Assume you are having 20 lines, 30 lines of logic, whatever it is. Rule number two, person should have an author. Rule number three, person should have valid PAN card, something like that. Something like that. So valid person should have valid Aadhaar, whatever it is, something. Okay. So this is our guidelines. Now, what is the advantage of this? First thing is this is possible from Java 8 onwards, and you are able to add methods with logic. You open curly braces means whether it is 0 lines or 1 line doesn't matter, 200 lines, simply it is having body. That's all. So in such a way, you are having implemented methods, and now you can access this method wherever you want. So that means now, first of all, I'm taking a use case with respect to implemented class. Accessing static methods from implemented. I said wherever you want. So static method point of view, what I said, available to any class, irrespective of implemented classes. You can access implemented as well as non-implemented also. So that means in my scenario, if I take in the classes, I have total 3 classes. 1, 2, 3. This one and this one are implemented, but this is a not a implemented class for this interface. It's not implemented. It's a this class is an individual class. So that means now the static method I can access from this class, this class, this class, wherever you want. You can access it in your project simply by using interface name. By using simply interface name. So that means by using interface name you can access wherever you want. Non-implemented class point of view also. By using interface name, we can access static methods. If it is a static method. Okay, let's take like now, is it true or not? Okay, yeah, for example, assume here itself, in the same method itself, you are printing guidelines as also. To apply any loans, you are printing guidelines from here. Printing guidelines for applying loan. Okay. So that means what I can do here, I can call that method. So simply what I'm doing, in what is my interface name. So let's see here. First of all, I'm trying to access that method directly, calling that method directly. Access means calling simply. Yeah. So I'm calling that method. So what's happened here? You cannot access directly. Why? I said right now, static methods are always called via its interface name. Via its interface name. So as part of our point, static methods are accessible by interface names. I mean, if it is class, but generally if it is interface, I said interface name. But default methods you can access as a direct default methods you can access directly into your implemented classes without interface name. That is acting as a non-static method. That is acting as a non-static method. And why? Because you have an inheritance relation, parent relation. Class B is the child of A interface. So class versus interface versus implemented class is having a inheritance relationship, guys. Please remember this formula also. So what is that point? It's not about class to class extends, then only you have inheritance relation. No, not like that. That is straightforward. We discussed inheritance point of view. Class extending another class is all about inheritance. That is what we discussed. But it's as well as an when you have an interface and you implemented that interface by a class, then also that becomes under the interface only, sorry, inheritance only. So class will become as a child in this case. Interface will become as a parent. So that in such a way you can access default methods directly without interface name or object also. So nothing but internally it is involving object only, but the point it is. But if it is not an implemented class, static method point of view you can access, but default methods you cannot access like that from that interface directly. Okay. So now see, I'm taking, see, even though HDFC is a implemented class, if you observe for the interface and the same interface static method you are accessing, same interface. So from this interface only this method is available. You cannot access directly. Now take this interface name, call bank.application. See automatically what happened. You can call wherever you want. Now you can call this method here, oh, here, or any other class point of view also. For example, now I'm going and I say it's a bank application. So here itself I'm accessing again. So I'm going to the class called as main application. And if you observe here, there is no relationship with that interface. There is no relationship. Still I can access. See here, still I can access. So that means even though this class is not a implemented class of bank loan application interface, you can access simply by it's a static method and you're accessing by the interface name. So that is what I said right now. Here it is. If it is a static method, you can access in the implemented classes as well as other classes also simply by using interface name, like classy example point of view. But the problem with default methods, I mean, not problem, intentionally they did all these things. Now let's execute again my main method application and see. I'm going to see. So every point of view, the guidelines, whatever being called, from everywhere the logic is executed with simply by using interface name. Now, my next question, I already told you how many methods, is there any limit available? Only one method can I access static, like that means how many methods of static can we implement? Can we add in interface? Yes, more than one, zero or more. Simply I can write zero or more. So that means you have a choice of zero or more. So that means more than one. Zero or more means 0, 1, 2, 3 like that. So you can add one more static method also. Then again story is same where you are accessing from there. Simply use the interface name and then followed by the static method. So that is what about the static methods. Now let's come back to the default methods. So we had a enough discussion yesterday itself. Only thing is now we are proving all the points from our theory. So if it is a default method, what is the point we understood now is default method of an interface. From implemented class, you no need of interface name. You can access directly. You can access directly. From non-implemented classes also, what you have to do is you cannot access, no, not accessible. Not accessible by default. But how can you access? Here it is by using an implemented class. Understand the point. By using, by default you cannot access directly, point number one, but you can access by using an implemented class instance. We can access default methods. What is the point? Here it is. If you take in this diagram again, so with respect to see what I said, default methods you cannot access. So that means accessing directly, for example, assume the default method name is so and so guidelines or whatever it is. I mean, default method name is guidelines point of view. Okay. So the moment you add a default method like this, what will happen here it is, you can access guidelines directly. That means even you no need of help of interface name also. So guidelines method you can access directly. You can call nothing but. But here you cannot call directly. Why? C is not a implemented class. C is an individual some other class, but C is trying to access this logic from this interface. Static methods you can access. We proved it right now. Guidelines you cannot access because it's a default method. So then what? But still I want to access that method from the C itself. Then what is the alternative solution you have is you have to create object for one of the implemented class. In case, for example, now what I did here it is b equal to new b, like that I created object. Now I can access b dot guidelines. So b dot guidelines. So this is how you can access now. So that means what you understood this. To access default methods from the non-implemented classes, you need always an instance of an implemented class. So one of the implemented class you can take, now you can call this method. Why? B is having authority to access guidelines method, default guidelines method from the interface. How? Why B is having authority? Because B is a child. B is a child for A. B is a implemented class of A interface. So B is an implemented class of A interface. So that means B is a child for A. So that's why B is having authority. So that's why via B instance you can access it. But if there is no relation, you cannot access directly. And why only via implemented class object? Because you cannot create objects for the interfaces. So why I said only class? Actually, the owner of this method is interface, but you cannot create object for the interface, right? So that's why Java is allowing us to access via its implemented class. You are able to create object only for the class. So you can access via class of implemented, but not via interface, because for interfaces you cannot create the objects. There is no point of creating, there is no way of creating object for the interfaces. That's why you can access via implemented classes objects. But if it is a deep static, it doesn't matter. First of all, if you are having interface name, call anywhere else. Whether it is implemented, non-implemented, what method, what and all, doesn't matter. Simply interface name and call it interface name dot method name. That's all. But here, default methods from the implemented classes you can access directly. So what kind of things I can say here it is. Okay, so let's take requirement like this. Add logic for calculating EMI values, EMI for a loan, for a loan. So this is what I given requirement, calculating EMI value for a loan. So that means principal rate, you will take all these things. Okay, so this is what requirement I given. Now from this, what I understood is, okay, this logic, and again, I said here one small point is, so when you are calculating the EMI value, every bank may follow their own processing fees. I like that. I given that kind of rule. So that means what is the problem? What is the challenge here? It is the logic what you are going to implement is not a common logic sometimes. So or I can write the bank may follow their own processing fees. So that means generally once EMI value is calculated, assume you want to use processing fees, some extra fees, maybe some banks are maybe charging it. Some banks they don't want to charge any processing fees from the like that. So that means here is a possibility of what's happening in this case. If you have 10 classes, so 10 banks point of view, assume 5 classes, no, they don't want to okay, make any change to that logic. So that means they want to use as it is logic, same logic, without anything, without any processing. But some of the other five classes felt like they want to write their own logic for calculating the EMI value their own based on their own processing fees, based on their own things and all. They want to write their own logic. So like that. Then what is the best choice in this case is default method. So if you made default, by default all 10 classes can access. All 10 classes can access that. There is no point of uh, in that. But in case if you want to override your own logic, then also possible with the what default methods. So such a way, what I am doing here it is I am adding again a default method. Now you know how to add a default method means you have to use a keyword called as default keyword and double calculate EMI value, something like that I taken. Assume you have a logic here, lot of logic based on the formula, whatever it is. So you can access integer, number of months, double loan amount, mm, rate of interest, double rate of interest, something like that. So you assume you are using some EMI formula and you implemented all this. So this is sort of calculating EMI value like that. Okay. So assume you can add your own lot of logic is available and ultimately you are making some formula, whatever it is, and return some value you are returning. So assume it's EMI value, right? So 45,000 or whatever it is. You can add some formula, whatever it is. See, randomly I'm adding. Don't ask this is really things or not. I'm just making some dynamic value, but it's not exactly the formula of whatever it is I'm taking. See, I'm not saying this is the real formula. I'm just make some blind formula. So that at least I can pass some values here. I can see some dynamic value here. That is the way I written. So you just think, imagine like that. Okay. So now this is a basic EMI formula and I added here. Now see how can I access this default method from the implemented classes as well as non-implemented classes. Okay. So now when it comes to ICICI Bank application, what I'm doing is, yeah, here assume car loan, the person is chosen car loan and so he want to see at the same time EMI value for the car loan also and I'm implementing from where ICICI Bank application. So I'm calling now EMI logic method. So how I'm calling, see here, what is my method? See, it's an implemented class. What is my method? Calculate EMI value, right? So see here from the implemented class, I'm calling. So that means here you are calling default method. You're calling default method. So earlier you called what? Called static method. So now I'm calling default method and I said from the implemented class you can access directly. So you no need of anything else. See, instance also you don't need. It's comes purely like a child versus parent point of view. Child can access parent methods directly, right? Same way. So pass the values. What are the values you have to pass is number of months. So I want to apply loan for 60 months, and for the amount called as 40,000 or 4 lakhs or 40 lakhs, whatever it is. And the rate of interest is all about 8.95%, something like that. Now, the moment this method is executed, you will get a result back, double value, double EMI value. So sys out of EMI value. Okay. So observe the point here. You are calling what default method, but you are not using any prefix before call to call this. Why? Because ICICI bank application, I mean, simply this class is an implemented of this interface. So that means this interface methods I can access directly. Default methods inside the implemented classes I can access directly. That means no point of using interface name as well as no object also. Why? Because these two are having a relationship, implemented relationships. That's why I can access default method. And the thing is, what is the common point you observed here? Whatever the EMI value logic you added, now it is accessible by all the implemented classes. So you cannot see any errors in the HDFC and ICICI Bank implemented classes. Why? Because you added it as a default method, and that logic is commonly shareable by implemented classes. So that's why you can access this method directly wherever you want, pass the values, get the result. So now, similarly, for example, from the personal loan point of view, okay, so this guy want personal loan point of view, some amount like 5 lakhs, and you want a 10.75 per percentage point of view. You want to get the EMI value. Similarly, I'm getting from the house loan point of view also 9.60 months only, and I'm giving for 1 crore, whatever the amount is, 9.00. So now again I will get EMI value and I'm printing here. So what's happened? The concentration here should be here. You are able to access that calculate EMI value wherever you want without any things and all. So now same thing is possible with the HDFC class also. Why? That is also a child for the bank application. HDFC is also having a relation with bank application interface. So now this bank application is having default method. So that's why now HDFC, this implementation class also can access that method wherever it want, wherever it want. For example, I'm using from the HDFC bank point of view. See here also, I'm able to access it without anything, calling default method. And then you can pass some values, different values. For example, you want to get car loan for 8 lakhs, something like that. Personal loan amount for 20 lakhs, and home loan point of view, I can ask this guy want to get home loan for 2 crores, something like that. Okay, so with respect to interest rates also I'll use 7.75. Okay, so simple, just like that. I added some. So our concentration should be happen here. We are able to call the methods directly, whether it is right or wrong. Okay, fine. Now see, I'm trying to access default method from here. Default method of bank application interface. That is what I'm trying to do. Static method, you are able to do that. but you are able to access default method of bank application interface. Right now, what I said, you cannot access directly, not accessible by default. But if it is implemented class, yes, you did that. Wherever you want, called, wherever you want, you are calling it simply. Static methods, okay, via interface. Non-static, sorry, default methods without object, without interface name itself, you are making it because it is acting as a non-static method with respect to classes. Now see here, I'm calling that calculate EMI value. First of all, you cannot call because there is no relation with bank application. Okay, let's try to call with the interface name. You cannot create object for the interface. That you know that. See here, you can call only static methods. You cannot call non-static methods from the class names also. We know that point also in our classes point of view. By using class name, can we call the non-static methods? Means no. Answer is no. Similarly, by using interface name, you cannot call non-static methods. Only static methods. Now, how can I call? By default, what I said, you cannot. We can't. But I said second alternative is involve implemented class object. Involve implemented class object. So that means, for example, I'm taking ICICI application class object. To equal to, I think I already have ICICI object here. I can take that help. So I have already, right, ICICI bank object. So let's see here. I'm calling from here ICICI dot calculate EMI value. See here, you can access now. Why? How? It's implemented class object. ICICI bank is an implemented class object. So that's why you can call it. Now actually this method is became as part of every implemented class automatically. So that's why you can call via it's any implemented class object. So you can pass some values here, whatever you want. I mean, you will get the result. 36 months and some amount, and it's all about 8.99, something like that. You can call it. Similarly, with respect to HDFC also, you can call it because it says also an implemented class, right? So how you are able to access, that is what concentration here it is. So that means via implemented class object, you can access it. If it is static method, simply interface name. Now when it comes to, when this is all about non-implemented class, that is why you can do that. So if you made in implements of bank application, then again what will happen? Then you don't need to use this other class object because yourself, this class itself a child for the interface. So that's why then they can access this method again directly. Like that. That is all you have to understand the points. Okay, so that's what the default and static methods. So run as Java application. See here, calculating EMI value, whatever it is. You can see different values, whatever EMI value, whatever you taken. Calculating EMI value 32,000 you got somewhere else. Calculating EMI value for the car loan 37 lakhs. I mean, whatever it is, just. So that means what's happening here it is. How you are accessing the default and static methods of an interface, we understood. So now you can add n number of default methods. How many methods of static default can we add in interface? Means 0 or more. Okay, that is clear. My next point, I said, right, sometimes couple of methods want to override their own logic, couple of classes, implemented class. See, in this case, this is the scenario we are talking about. What? So, for example, HDFC point of view, what it is doing, it is directly accessing from the payment pair, I mean interface itself. This one also, but SBI class thought like I want to override my own logic because I have couple of things to add on my own. I don't want that logic. I want to add. Yes, overriding. That means what is the point of overriding, guys? Exact syntax you have to take in your class, in your child class called as overriding. That is what we understood in the classes level, inheritance polymorphism point of view. Now with respect to interface versus implemented, also I said right now it's an inheritance only. So then also you will call it as a inheritance only. So that means the moment you taken a method from the interface with same signature and you added in the implemented class, that comes under the overriding. So that means what is the use case I am taking right now is overriding default method. Overriding the default method. Overriding the default method. So let's see here. So how to override default method means simply you can provide your own logic. Go here. Yeah, this is the logic they added, right? Now, for example, I'm taking same signature, and in this case, HDFC Bank would like to provide own logic because they want to add some processing fees, something like that. So that's why they want to provide. So that's why go to HDFC Bank application. I'm keeping these lines as it is. Earlier, this is called from where? From the interface. So before that, whenever you called this method from here, so somewhere else, or from where? Okay. Oh, what? Yeah, here. The moment you are calling the car loan method, sorry, car loan, this one, and by passing car loan, this is access. This method is accessible from where? Interface. But this time, what I am doing is I am providing my own logic. So you cannot add default word, guys. When you are overriding the default methods of an interface inside the implemented class, remove the default keyword. But signature should be same means only default keyword you have to remove, because in classes you don't have a concept of default methods. You don't have that concept. So that's why you have to remove the default word. When you are added the same signature means you have to ignore the default keyword. So now see, I'm added exact syntax signature, same method name, same return type, same parameter, same data type and everything. Now I will write my own logic. So that means sys out of EMI calculation by HDFC Bank, something helping statement I written. And you can take some whatever the formula you want to take. For example, I'll take basic formula. Okay, so after that, sys out of adding processing fees of 5% or 10%, whatever it is. Of, for example, they want to add 5,000 processing fees for the loan. So that's why value equal to value plus 5,000, and then assume they are adding few more other things also. So this sort of adding maintenance charges, whatever it is, something. Okay, so return EMI value or value, whatever it is. Okay, now my question here it is, what is happened in this case in this diagram point of view, if I taken, you added a method called as default method, okay, called as calculate EMI. This is what default method. This is all about a default method. So what happened in this case? Earlier case, Both the scenarios you are able to access directly from the, I'll keep this here instead of outside. Yeah. So in earlier case, what happened? You are able to access directly whenever you are calling calculate EMI value. Always it is calling from here only. You are able to access the moment you are calling calculate EMI value. But this time, what we did, ICICI Bank still remaining same. Okay, that class is feeling like I will access only this one. All other classes also feeling same thing. But HDFC felt okay, thinking like I will provide my own logic. So the moment I am calling calculate EMI value, what will happen? Let's see. So that means here you overridden. It's called as overriding. Overriding of default methods. So you can override only default methods. You cannot do static methods. So even classes also we know that rule. We can't override the static methods. It will not comes under the override even though you are doing that you can explore it. So that means calculate EMI method being implemented or overridden by HDFC Bank. So that means in this scenario, what will happen? The moment you created HDFC object, new HDFC, and the moment you are calling HDFC dot calculate EMI and by passing some values. So now in this case, which method will be called? That is what our question. Now this is where you are calling the method. So in earlier when you are not overridden, yeah. So when you are not overridden, if you are not have overridden, then what happened? The call directly went to, first it is checking here, not available. That's why it went to parent, it's available and it is executed from here. But this time you have your own logic. So the moment you are calling calculate EMI, again it's same method overriding what we discussed in the polymorphism times or whatever inheritance point of view. So what will happen in this scenario? Same. The moment you are calling calculate EMI value, it will verify in this HDFC class is there any method available or not with same signature. It coming here. It is checking. Yes, existed. That's why it starts executing here itself. If it is with respect to ICA, what will happen? It will check here, not available. From here, it is going to the parent, available. So that's why it will execute from the parent. Same thing we discussed in that method overriding also. Right? Now, let's see, is it happening or not? So for that, how can I prove is, now my point is, here I am calling the HDFC bank, right? So, and I am calling get loan from here, but get loan internally calling calculate. Now the point is it calling from interface or class? Is it calling which one? Interface or class method? In this case or in this case, yes, it will always call from here only. So whether it is right or wrong, see here, what I will do, just to prove that point, I'll comment all these lines to avoid the confusion between the output. Yeah. So from my main method, what I'm doing, I created an object of HDFC and I'm calling get loan. The moment I call, it comes here. Okay, you given car loan and it will enter inside this. And here you are calling calculate EMI value. So now what's happening is the story, our concentration is. So here you have. So then what I said, the moment it is calling this method, so you don't have anything means it will generally prefer as a this. Okay, it will prefer in the current class it is available or not. Yes, this time it is available. So that's why it will come here and it will execute here. So whether it is right or wrong, see. Now, for example, if you go to the main method again, I'll keep ICICI Bank opening only. Only one line I'll comment out. So that means now in this case, what is happened? So that is what our story. So the moment you call here, here you are calling the calculate EMI value. But the point is, calculate EMI value you don't have in your own class. In this class, you don't have it. So that's why what it will do, it will go to the parent. So in this case, it is called from the parent. But in a HDFC point of view, the moment you are calling calculate EMI value, it's available in your class itself. So it will call from here itself. Like that, you have a flexibility of overriding with respect to default methods. So see here, what happened? Okay, leave about guidelines as somewhere you called. Now personal loan interest is this is what calculating EMI value. But if you observe the next lines based on this line, car loan interest EMI calculated by HDFC Bank, adding processing fees, adding other charges. So this logic is executed from the HDFC class, calculated overridden method. So now again, based on the polymorphism point of view, you know that if I deleted this method, what will happen, guys? Now in this case, again HDFC Bank, what it will do with respect to HDFC Bank, whenever you are calling calculate, now this time it's not available in the local. Now again this will also go to parent only. Now in this case, again this will also go to parent only. So see now, again what you observed, same method calculated from the interface level, called from the interface, called from the interface. Like that. So this is all about default and static methods. This is all about default and static methods. And you can add any number of default and static methods. Any doubts until this? I mean, with respect to default and static methods. So from this, what you understood, I don't think, what is the overview or what is the point you understood? From this overall discussion, what you understood, guys? First of all, you have to be very strong in basics. That means what is the difference between static and non-static methods? People who knows the static versus non-static methods, today they are feeling very happy like nothing is there. Simply default method is acting as a non-static. Point number one. Second point, what you have to understand here it is, if you don't have knowledge of inheritance, if you don't have knowledge of inheritance, child versus parent point of view, child accessibility, those rules, if you forgot, you cannot understand anything. See, we are discussing a different concept, but it is involving inheritance. And after that, method overriding. I said, right, when I'm discussing about method overriding itself, this is the most important. This is the most important topic, like that I said, overriding point of view. So that means inheritance, method overriding. And again, what are the principles? You know, that principles, when we discussed about polymorphism point of view, we discussed a couple of principles also. So that means now my point here it is, to understand a default and static methods itself as part of interfaces, you should be very strong in this all these areas. Then you understood very easily. If and whatever we discussed earlier, if we forgot it today, you are feeling difficult. If people who remember this is all actually 5 to 10 minutes of topic, but still we taken 2 3 hours of topic, no problem. But the point is, at least realize now how much important basics and how much important inheritance. Okay, understanding the inheritance concepts like parent versus child point of view, and as well as remembering the polymorphism point of view and abstraction, all these things. Tomorrow, because the reason is once we move to the again exception handling collections framework, 100 percentage, not even 99, 100 percentage inheritance, method overriding, okay, abstraction, yeah, abstraction, nothing but Abstract classes or interfaces, you know that, right? Abstraction can be achieved by using interfaces and abstract classes. So that means if you are touching these topics right away after some time, 100% these two topics are involving inheritance, method overriding, polymorphism, abstraction, everything it is involving. So the moment I said method overriding, overloading also. So the moment I said method overloading and overriding, polymorphism. And those principles. Interface can refer implemented class object in implemented, okay, superclass can refer child class objects, and typecasting point of view. The rules, whatever we discuss, everything is important again to this, to understand this. So that means if you are again good with these things, again this will become very easy. So that's why inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, encapsulation, these four principles being asked in every interview, they will test your knowledge, because without these four concepts knowledge, you cannot understand any other topics going further from today onwards. Not today onwards, even if you understand here also, same concept being replicated here also. So whatever I discussed today with respect to calculate EMI value, if I taken this as a class, what is the concept? Method overriding only, right? So if I made this as a class, then it became simple method overriding. Whatever we discussed in the method of overriding point of view, first it will give preference to child class. If it is not available, then it will go to the parent class, like that. So same story today also. So that's why I am telling you this point is, understand and realize the real importance of old topics what you completed so far. Don't ignore always basics. Don't ignore the concepts what we completed so far. Revise every day. Spend some time for the old topics what you completed so far. Otherwise, you will feel difficult. So I observe so many people, 95%, 90% of people concentrate on the current topic. They will practice only current topic. Their intention is their practice is completed for inheritance 1 month, 20 days back itself. Yes, that's true. But the thing is, what you remembered is today's matter. So as a human being, we cannot remember everything permanently. So that means we need a revision always. A human brain always requires a revision. Until you are getting lot of confidence, you need always a revision. So that means go back and spend some time on the old topics, revise it, recognize it, I mean remind it. And then you can easily correlate things from old to latest to upcoming. Like that you can correlate. Then you can understand the content easily. So you need to know that syncing. You don't need to know that connectivity between one concept to another concepts. You have to identify that connectivity. Then you will enjoy the programming language. Until and unless you are not making this kind of okay, connectivity, you are not identifying things in a proper technical way, you will never enjoy the programming language. So sometimes I'll feel when I'm working in the Spring Boot or wherever you go, it will involve inheritance, all these things point of view. I'll feel like, hey, nothing is there. Simply Java programming language. I mean, it's not like every concept. Again, there are difficult concepts. Are there even some concepts I am not aware of it? That's a different story. As a human, we don't know 100% that is not possible. Knowing everything about Java language, any human cannot do that. But simply the basic things, regular requirements, what we are implementing. So why the reason is that's what it's all about. Identify the connectivity. And so many people will say like, sir, you're doing things very well, you're teaching very well. The reason is, it's not because of that. I understood the connectivity between one topic to another topic. I identified that kind of mechanism. Okay, this is what okay, this is how the ecosystem of Java programming language is implemented. So if you know these things very well, then automatically other things will become very easy. Okay, this is how, like that, I just try to identify the connectivity between one topic to another topic, identify the, okay, logic behind the scenes, behind the topic. So what is being involved and all, then you can understand programming language just like that. Okay, so that's why please revise your knowledge again. Otherwise, again, you will fail to understand all these exception handling, collection frameworks, multi-threading, all upcoming topics, not only today, going further, anything, JDBC, Advanced Java, Spring Boot, wherever you go, you will fail to understand until and unless you are not getting good knowledge over here. These topics, whatever I said, especially. and you should know methods, instance variables. Everything is important in this basics. How? Okay, so that's all. Let's connect on tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to start a concept called as annotations, and then followed by that we will discuss functional interfaces and lambda expressions. Okay. So tomorrow we'll start a concept called as annotations, and then we'll see immediately functional interfaces, lambda expressions. All are Java 8 features. Functional interfaces, lambda expressions are Java 8 features again. So now we started understanding all the Java 8 features also one by one. So we have done already static and default methods. Okay. So don't by heart. Try to understand the things, correlate from the old topics and try to correlate from current topics, and make a practical understanding instead of by hearting. The people who knows the method overriding, same thing with respect to default methods. Okay, so that's all. Anything else you can ask me, otherwise we'll connect on tomorrow.